All right, hello everybody. Plan today is to talk about the project and to choose topics. So if you go into today's date and open up the project intro, you're gonna find the video here. I'm gonna pull up the assignment directions. I'll kind of walk you through this thing. Basically, the task is you are going to put together a presentation. So back in the olden days in class, we used to have kids put together a group of slides, and then they would stand in front of the class and talk. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're dreadful. So I've moved to doing video presentations. And the thing I like about that is some people are shy and don't want their face on a video or don't want to stand in front of the room. And so there's a way that you can do this without your face showing up at all. The other thing is that by having these as video presentations, they're open to whoever can find the link, and you can watch and rewatch, or you can rewind, or you can pause. And so it's helpful in the note-taking process. So basically, you're going to do some research on a specific disorder, and you're going to put together a video so that you can teach everybody in the class about your disorder. So we will have some work time next week. Let me pull up the calendar so you can see what it looks like. We can talk about timelines a little bit. So if I look at the calendar, it says we're introducing today on the 10th. You're going to have work days basically all next week, and then the project will be due next Friday. And so in theory, we start watching videos on Monday and Tuesday, and Wednesday will be when your video notes are ultimately due. So I guess in theory, as long as you had a finished video by, Monday morning, or Sunday night, you're going to be just fine. So that should be more than enough time. Ordinarily, when I do this in class, I would give people the weekend and 3 days. So you're going to have 2 weekends and a whole week. So it should be more than doable for what we're trying to accomplish here. So what's going to be in your video? If you follow the bullet points that are listed here, these should be the specific parts to the video. So you're going to give us a very brief definition of this disorder. So if you're going to tell somebody in 30 seconds to a minute what is bipolar disorder or what is schizophrenia, that's what the definition of the disorder is. It says find information in essential features and summarize. That's a reference to the DSM, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. History and background. When was the disorder first described? When was it added to the DSM? How has the definition changed over time? Particularly in the newer versions of the DSM. The history and background is really going to depend on your particular disorder. So if you pick something like depression, people have understood, or maybe not understood, but known about depression going back to like ancient Greece. So that one will have plenty of history and plenty of information that you can find. If you pick a disorder that's more recent, like I'm thinking borderline personality disorder or some of the more recent designations, you're going to find maybe less information from the past because that's a more recent understanding of personality disorders. So that might be really, when did this disorder become a disorder that people recognize this set of symptoms? When did that become something that was classified as a disorder? So that might be in the last maybe 20, 30 years tops. Other disorders like PTSD might have been called other things in the past. Shell shock in World War I, other things. So you might track how that changed over time. One way or the other, we're trying to get a sense of, what do we know about this disorder that's historical. Third bullet says causes of the disorder, important associated features, differential diagnosis. Again, some of those things are related to the DSM. So causes, if known, what do they think are the causes of the disorder? That's pretty straightforward. Associated features would be things that come along with the disorder that might be additional behavioral things or additional impacts that the disorder can sometimes be connected to. So an example would be people with depression oftentimes also have some anxiety or vice versa. Oftentimes those mood disorders will kind of merge into each other a little bit. So your primary um, diagnosis might be depression, but you might also have some anxiety. So if there are associated features, what are they? And then differential diagnosis is kind of the opposite. How do we know that it's this one particular disorder and not another? Because sometimes you will see similar symptoms from disorder to disorder. So what makes differential diagnosis basically is what makes this one kind of its own unique thing. Again, I'll show you where you can find some of that information. Diagnostic criteria. This is the one time I'm going to tell you to basically copy and paste from a web source. So the diagnostic criteria comes directly from the DSM, and I want you to literally put that in verbatim. And in the example video that I have for you, you will see that there's a spot in the video where that shows up as text directly from the DSM. Diagnostic criteria literally is a therapist or a medical person that sees a patient who might have a disorder. What are the criteria they use to diagnose whether that person has it or does not have it? And it'll literally say A, this behavior, B, this behavior, C, this behavior, and it'll give you time. How often it's happening, how long it's been going on, things like that. Next bullet is treatment or prevention of the disorder. So what are the treatments? Oftentimes it's going to be some kind of medication and some kind of talk therapy. So be fairly specific as far as the typical treatments or things that they do to address the disorder when it's present. If there's anything that people can do to reduce symptoms or prevent the disorder, that would be information that would be useful as well. And then the last two bullets, other information or facts that might be interesting. So from disorder to disorder, there are certain things that'll pop up that might be specific or interesting for that particular disorder. Sometimes people will find examples of famous people who've had the disorder. Sometimes there's certain statistics or information about the prevalence of the disorder. Either it's very common or very rare. Whatever other kind of facts and information that you think is kind of interesting. It doesn't have to be those specific things, but whatever pops up for your disorder can be included. And then the last thing that I'm asking for is an additional video clip related to the topic. So oftentimes students will find a clip of a movie or a video that kind of shows the disorder in action. And I think that sometimes when you see what we're talking about, as opposed to just hearing it being talked about, it makes the disorder much more clear. So again, in my video example, I will show you. I found a clip of a a Woody Allen movie, where the character has the disorder, and so you can kind of see what it looks like. The key to this is really to do good research. If you're not understanding the language that you're researching, then you have to keep Googling to kind of figure out what those words mean. If you don't understand it and you just read it on screen, then the people that are watching your video aren't going to understand it either. So make sure you're taking fairly complex information and trying to break it down for kind of regular people. We're not doctors, we're not psychologists, right? This is for a regular audience. So that's part of your job, is to do the research so that you can explain things and put it into terms that make sense to us. These are best when they are interesting. So the video should be fun to watch. If it's you reading in a drone voice, I don't know how many of these classroom videos you're watching now, but you can tell when they're more interesting and less interesting. So try to jazz it up a little bit so that people are enjoying their time. See the score breakdown here. Most of it is the quality of information that you have. Some of it is the quality of your video. So make sure that you are addressing these different points as you watch. And again, here's the link to the example video. I'm not going to say that my video is the best video ever, but I did put a little time into doing the video editing, and it will definitely give you an idea of what this could look like. But I'm hoping that you all are much more creative than I am. So start by watching the example video when you're done listening to me, and then you can start doing research and thinking about the topic that you want to do. Okay. We will talk as we get closer to the deadline. We will talk more about video stuff, and I will try to put. I'm going to put together. I think I already made a Google Hangout, um, so that if there are quick questions that are video related or video related, that there will be a place that we can address those, kind of in an ongoing way. But more on that next week. There are some links here to WeVideo tutorials. I think it should be already on your Chromebook. The district has paid for WeVideo, that's why we use it. If you have already used iMovie or some other video software and you prefer that, I really don't care. As long as you produce a video that is public that we can all see with a link to it, that's fine with me. So it really doesn't matter, but WeVideo is the one that we pay for. So that's our starting point. I know for me, I go into Rapid Identity. I don't know if this is on your Chromebook, but it's right down here, WeVideo. So that might be the place to start. Otherwise, I'm not sure on the Chromebook if you hit the little magnifying lens and WeVideo is in there somewhere, but it should be listed already. The topics and options are then listed as you scroll down. So we have 13 topics and we have either 20 or 22 people in class. So I'm going to say that 1 or 2 people can choose any of the disorders. Okay, a total of 2 tops so that we make sure that all of them are covered. So you should have some choices. If you are just really excited about schizophrenia and 2 people have already chosen schizophrenia, then you're going to have to pick something else. But there are tons of really interesting ones here. My suggestion on Thursday's notes was to do some preview of chapter 13 so you have an idea of what some of these things are when you go to pick. But the disorders are listed here. And as we scroll down the list, there's plenty to choose from. So your job right now is to use this form to choose a topic. When I open it up, it should be so that you can just type directly on here. So if I've decided that I'm really excited about generalized anxiety disorder, I'm gonna write my name right here. Oops, can't spell my own name. And then I'm signed up. If there's already 2 names, then that one's taken and you have to pick something else. So start here, choose your topic. I'm going to say let this percolate a little bit. Once you have a topic, you can start doing some research and thinking about what you're going to do. And then my plan is starting on Monday or Tuesday, I will post another video that gives you some ideas about how to actually do some video editing. In the meantime, you can watch my example video, you can do research and start gathering information so that once we get to video production, you have information that's ready to go. If you have any major questions or problems, send me an email. Otherwise, more information coming next week. Have a good weekend. Talk to you soon.